Good evening. We are live, Omnibroslive. I'm Omnidog from Omnidog's Vault. Thank you for joining us tonight. With me, as always, from Near Mint Condition, Omar. Omar, how's it going, buddy?
It's going good, my friend. It's going good. I'm really excited to talk about The Wire. I'm a huge fan of all. I mean, yeah, season 5, kind of the whole serial killer angle. I was kind of weak, but overall, I think it's like top 3 favorite series of all time. That is what we're talking about, right?
Yeah, right. Tonight's episode is about The Wire. I know that would make Matt Miranda happy.
And you know a place that doesn't sell The Wire?
That would probably be InStockTrades.com, where you can get your collected editions up to 50% off. Loyalty discounts add 2% to that. They frequently have sales that add 3% to that. Every quarter you get an Omnibroslive discount. And over $50 in the United States of an order gets you free shipping and fabulous service, fabulous packaging. That's InStockTrades.com.
Woohoo!
And hey, there he is, the man himself.
No jingle?
Not yet. It's coming.
I did the jingle, and we decided it was better if it was set to music. So I'm going to have a professional musician record it at the end of the month, and it'll sound better.
Ooh, we need a guitar riff in there or something.
Right. Yeah, a little Eddie Van Halen.
Ooh,
slip
I like
and
that.
slide.
Times have been really hard for Eddie Van Halen if he's writing tunes for you.
He's surprisingly affordable.
Maybe we could get his son Wolfgang. Maybe
Wolfie.
Isn't that his son? His son plays drums in the band, right?
I think his son plays the bass. They got rid of their bass player, and I think Wolfie plays the bass.
I've heard it's not that bad.
Well, yeah, I guess he's probably pretty good. He's got a pretty darn good teacher with his dad.
He's all right.
He's all right.
All right, you guys should talk about this because I think Jess has probably a list of 85 books that he loves to reread because he forgets everything that he just read.
Totally. That's why I have to have him right here in front of me. This is a perfect topic for me. Omar, you brought it up. What books do you like to reread because you... What?
Woohoo!
Well, I just wanted to talk about books that I like to reread, but every time I reread them, I catch something new.
Right.
But it wasn't my idea. I'm not going to take credit. It was one of our listeners, I think. One of our viewers sent it in.
Oh, was that in the top list that I sent?
Mm-hmm.
The list that I sent? Oh, okay. Let me see.
So let's give them cred, because it definitely was not me.
Okay, that was... shoot. Who was it that sent us that? I have it on my phone. Show topic ideas. And I forgot who it was. Maybe it was Josh Angel?
So maybe this is why you like rereading things, because you you forget so quick.
I do.
I don't know who it was, but whoever it was, thank you very much, because this is something that I like to do. I have mentioned in the past on the show that one of my favorite things to do is go back and read Uncanny X-Men, but not just Uncanny X-Men, the entire Mutant Chronicles, like from X-Men #1 all the way up until whatever issue they are on. Up until I'm not like it was a lot easier when I was a teenager and in my 20s because there wasn't that much, and I wasn't as angry back then. And then in my 30s. Retconning started to piss me off more and more, and now that I'm in my 40s, I'm okay with it. Sometimes now that I'm in my 40s and I have 2 kids, and it gets harder to take that time to do to this reread. So now I just reread certain titles, and yes, Uncanny X-Men is still, and I don't start at #1 anymore. Not the 1963, but I start with Giant Size 1 and go all the way up until the end of the Chris Claremont saga. Because to me, that is the greatest story I've ever read. Like, I'm sorry. I think the Bible is known as the greatest story ever. No, just kidding. Just kidding. Not going to take it there.
Bible of comic books.
But to me, that was my childhood growing up. That was everything. Like, that was important. Most of the important lessons in life I learned through Chris Claremont's Uncanny X-Men. So I go back and reread that.
You did, huh?
Yes. Most, not all.
Huh.
That other stuff I learned through Vertigo titles and independent comics. It's a fun read. I love that stuff, and I love the progression of Silver Age and how heavy Tex's writing is into the almost movie style of writing that he gets in the when John Burns took over as the lead artist on the book, him and Terry Austin. Like Chris Claremont, John Byrne, and Terry Austin, match made in heaven. I love that stuff. Jim Lee, Scott Williams, Chris Claremont, also Mark Silvestri, Dan Green. Oh man, so much talent on that. So much talent on that whole series.
You are like the antimatter version of me when it comes to memory. You remember all those artists and writers and colorists and everything.
Some colorists. I don't give enough credit to the colorists.
Well,
but inkers and definitely artists. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I don't have nearly the memory you do for, especially X-Men. That's definitely your bailiwick. Is
yes.
The X-Men, and I guess I know now why, since you reread it so many times.
I have read it quite a bit. Yes.
The X-Men is a deep hole, man. That's a lot to cover.
It is. But to me, it's always, always feels like going back home. All right, that's enough about that. That went on for 10 minutes about how much I love Chris Claremont.
No, that's part of the show. We wanted to know what you liked, and I think it's interesting. Do you pick up new stuff on the X-Men when you reread it?
And how do you feel about Brian Michael Bendis' run?
I'm trying to stay positive, guys.
Gold Balls is the best X-Men.
Cool.
No, I don't even acknowledge that shit. Do I pick up anything new? Probably not really, not anymore. Not as much as I used to. Like, reading it as a kid and then reading it as a teenager, you pick up so much more. You're like, oh, that's what he meant.
Yeah.
Things like that. Because you've experienced so much more in life too. And then when you get in your 20s about heartache and all that stuff, it's wonderful. But not really, not so much anymore. How about you guys? What are some of your rereads that you love doing?
Who wants to go? Jess?
Go ahead.
Okay. This is an obvious one. I've mentioned this a few times. Day Tripper. That is a book that just, the older you get, the more you could come back to it and the more you get out of it. I revisit Day Tripper probably, I'm due for a revisit, every 2-3 years since it came out. And every time I get more out of it because I'm in a different place in life. So Day Tripper is definitely that book. I just love it. I absolutely love it. For those of you that haven't read Day Tripper, it's basically it's just a commentary on life. It centers around a character named Braz. He's a Brazilian journalist. And in every single issue, at the end of every issue, it shows you a possible way that Day Tripper would have died, that Braz would have died. And it's basically just a reflection on how life is and how crazy life can be and how that, there you go, Jess has the book, that, life has its ups and downs, but ultimately it's a trip worth taking. And it's a very upbeat book. It's a very emotional book. Every time I read it, I'm pretty much always in tears, and I always find myself relating more and more to the characters the older that I get. It's I personally think it's a masterpiece of the medium, and it's one of those books that it gets a lot of love, but it should be held to a higher esteem. Just my 2 cents.
I pulled this out because I read it in floppies when it came out. It's still sealed. It is still sealed. I read it in floppies when it came out, but now that you mentioned this for like the 10th time, I am pulling this out. I'm going to start reading it tomorrow and read it again.
It's a phenomenal read, and I'm glad. But I think it is getting some of attention though that it deserves because it's getting an absolute. Books like that don't get absolutes. Like,
yeah, I'm getting that day one.
books like that don't ever really get absolutes. Not something like that, because it's not, it doesn't have the name Neil Gaiman on it or Brian K. Vaughan or Garth Ennis. Books like this are very rare that they go in absolute. So I think it's really cool. All right,
good.
Jess.
I'm reading it tomorrow then. Good.
It's a great read. I love it.
My first pick is Joe the Barbarian. Grant Morrison. I would say this is one of the more accessible Morrison books with great art by Sean Murphy. And I pick up something new every time I read this. I've read it probably 4 times, and I really didn't put it all together until really about the 3rd time I read it. It's about a kid, and he's alone at home, and his action figures come to life as he slips into a diabetic coma or a diabetic shock, insulin shock, and his house and toys and everything basically come alive. And the first time I read it, I really never put the pieces together as to what was going on. And it took me 2 or 3 reads before I actually got the gist of the whole story. So that's why I like rereading this, because I pick up something new every time. I get a new understanding every time I reread this book. He has these adventures that are right on the borderline of whose reality is it? And here's speaking of Easter eggs, there's some good Easter eggs right there. He's teetering on the brink of reality, and I just love this book. Anything I have another Grant Morrison book that I picked that he's somebody that generally benefits from rereads, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Did you show the page with yeah. I love that page. That book is what made me a Sean Murphy fan.
I think that's the same for a lot of people.
It's wonderful.
That and his American Vampire stint on that made me a huge Sean Murphy fan.
And that's getting an omnibus.
American Vampire?
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, that's right. They announced it. The damn thing isn't even finished yet.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering too. But apparently they're collecting everything, right, Jess? Jess did the math. Let's blame him. Jess did the math, and he said they're collecting everything. Because you have the trades or the hardcovers, don't you?
I have the hardcovers, but I think it's just the first 3 books or something that are getting collected in the first omnibus.
Huh. Okay. Never mind.
I'm not positive. Well, let me go to Amazon real quick and see what it says.
Is Volume 3 the World War II arc, or is it Volume 4? I always forget. That's the hard one to get.
One of them is out of print, yeah.
I think Volume 5's out of print, I think.
It's the World War II one, because it features Sean Murphy's art in it as well. And there's two separate stories going on at the same time.
I guarantee it's the one that Jess has sealed.
Probably.
As far as Day Tripper, somebody was asking in the chat, that comes out March of 2019. Absolute Day Tripper.
Day 1 buy.
So for my next pick, I'm going to go with the stereotypical must-read Neil Gaiman's Sandman.
Oh, damn it. That was one of my picks.
Brilliant.
Yeah, we can all talk about it.
Okay, good.
So the first time I read that book I was in high school. I was a sophomore in high school. Mm-hmm. And I believe issue 8 had just dropped. And I'm like, because all my comic book snooty friends were like, you got to read this new thing. It's like Swamp Thing, but better. And I'm like, bullshit. Nothing will ever surpass Alan Moore's Swamp Thing.
To be fair, Swamp Thing has a plant fucking a woman. So.
Well, yeah. So I went in and I bought issue 9 because apparently I couldn't find issue 8 because that was the first appearance of Death. And I'm like, this book is stupid. None of it makes any sense. And then I got a friend of mine let me borrow the first 8 issues. And because I had 9 and 10, that's what happened. And I read them and I'm like, okay, this is pretty cool. It's got like a couple of DC obscure characters, and I don't know who this guy is. Yeah, I didn't even know at the time that I thought he was a pre-existing Morpheus was a pre-existing character. And I fell in love with the series and collected it all the way until it ended in issue 75. And then that's one that I go back and reread every couple of years. I think the absolutes are what I ended up keeping because I did not want to go the route of the omnibuses. The omnibuses are absolutely the way to go if you're trying to save some money.
Mhm.
But to me, I think since I started buying the absolutes first, I'm just justifying it by saying I like the art bigger. It's wonderful, and the more you appreciate it, not because you've gone through a lot of like things in life, but because you've read a lot more DC and you're like, holy shit, that's who Cain and Abel are. Okay, now all this House of Mystery shit makes sense.
Right.
Or or you've read Infinity, right? The Infinity series. And you're like, oh shit, okay, that's where these characters came from. Oh, that's Daniel's mom and dad. Holy shit, this all connects to the DC universe. And that's what I mean. Like, I have no idea how this guy wrote this. I think he was in his 20s at the time when he was writing. I was like, how much knowledge of the DC universe did this guy have? It was crazy. But yeah, the older you get and the more DC comics you read, the more you appreciate all these little Easter eggs that are in Sandman. And it's a beautiful, wonderful experience every time I read it. And every time I read it, it feels new.
Yeah,
How about you guys?
I'm always picking up new things, especially when he like Midsummer Night's Dream, when he gets into that kind of stuff. I'm always picking up new things as I get a better understanding of what he's trying for and where he's been in the book and what he's trying for, and then just the literary influences that kind of seep into the book. The more I learn about that kind of stuff, the more pickups of the characters I get in the Sandman. So
you said something that just triggered my memory, and it was because I don't think about these things anymore. Nowadays, if you look at a character that you're like, I wonder if any of this bullshit was real. You take your phone out and you're like, Wikipedia, lie to me. Oh, cool, this shit really did happen. Remember, like back in the day as the stuff was coming out, I just assume all of it was real. I'm like, all right, surely there was what was it, the King of the United States storyline, or all these little characters that he adds in there from real like events. I was like, oh, this is so cool. And you read about it later on, like in English class or something like that, or a college course that you took. Yeah. You're like, holy shit, Neil Gaiman wasn't just bullshitting.
Yeah,
he's for real solid.
He uses a lot of literary references in his book Sandman, so that's what I always pick up on, something new every time.
Yeah, it's impressive in that he was probably in his mid to late 20s when he wrote this crap, and I'm just like, I'm 28, I don't know shit. Like, I don't know, I have no grasp on classic literature like Gaiman does. It's brilliant. I've talked about it so many damn times at this point, but it's what else can you say? It's a classic for a reason. It's won multiple awards for a reason. And if you haven't read it, read it. Just don't go in expecting Death to be in every single issue because you will be highly disappointed. Not Death, Dream to be in every single issue because you'll be highly disappointed.
Yeah, you'll probably see Merv Pumpkinhead more than you see Dream.
I like Merv Pumpkinhead.
I do too.
I like the Raven.
You used to have a little figure of those guys, the Endless. And
oh, really?
Mm-hmm. There was some of the stuff that did not survive the divorce.
Oh.
Yeah.
Hey,
anyway.
Have you guys read the Sandman universe yet?
I have not.
Issue 1 just came out, right?
Yeah, it came out. I have it on my tablet. I just haven't sat down and read it yet.
I gotta check it out. No, I have not yet. I'm excited about it. I know he's overseeing the project, which probably means like, oh, thanks for the check, DC. Yeah, sure that looks good. Yeah, that looks like Daniel. Whatever.
That's enough zeros on there. Yeah, sure. Whatever, kid.
But I'm still excited. It's one of my favorite universes to go and visit. I mean, if it wasn't for Sandman, we wouldn't have had things like Lucifer, Books of Magic, you know, all these wonderful little offshoots of that story. It's one of those books that I will say it lives up to the hype. And I know there are probably people that don't like it.
What?
Oh, there's gotta be. There's people that don't like Bendis.
Shut up.
No, I'm just saying, like, there's people that don't like, a lot of things that are known as must reads. I mean, there are people that I know that don't like Watchmen. I didn't think up until, a few years ago, those people didn't exist. Or people that don't like Kingdom Come and things like that. I know that's got to be on one of your lists. That's why I said it. All right, Luis, you're next. What's up, buddy? What's a good reread?
It's a kind of comment. To be fair, the people that mostly don't like Watchmen haven't read too many comics. And they've heard the name Watchmen, and it's like they have this high esteem, like, oh, this thing is amazing. And then when they read it, they're like, oh, what is this?
Is this a book? There's not enough pictures in this.
Watchmen's a dense read. For my choice, I am going to go with... I thought I already went with Day Tripper. Oh, so it's back to me again. Okay. Jeez. Let me think real quick. Hellboy.
Well, we go to Jet. Oh, yes. I'm so glad you said that.
The obvious choice. You can't go an episode with me without at least once me mentioning Hellboy. Specifically the Hellboy core series. Like, not the BPRD stuff and all this. Like, geez, Mike Mignola should really cut me a check at this point. Specifically the main Hellboy line and that mythology and those stories that Mike told throughout the past, we're going on 30 years at this point.
Wow.
All the way leading up to Hellboy in Hell. It's one continuous story. You can read all that stuff and you will be perfectly fine, but it's one of those things where the more you invest in the Hellboy mythos and the Hellboy universe, the more you get out of it and the more connections you see and the better it gets. I am a diehard Hellboy fan. I love everything in that universe, and I read absolutely everything in that universe. And I really can't think of a trade where I thought, that wasn't that good. It was horrible. There was been from varying qualities to, that was okay, to, wow, that was amazing. But yeah, just the main Hellboy from start to finish is fantastic, and so happy they're bringing back Big Red, and that they have brought it back.
Big Red. There's a question here. First, John the Uncanny, there's 2 Sandman Omnibuy, and there's a third one coming out at the end of the year.
Yes.
I think there's an interesting question from Cartel from Hell. I think he asked it last night or maybe Monday. I can't remember. If we have a favorite place to read Omnis, do you have any binging rituals? I believe Omar drinks the blood of his enemies before he opens any Omni.
No, sometimes I do it live on my show, or I do it on my show. Like, I did the Venom Omnibus thing, and it had a damn printing error. Like, the last 20 pages were all sewn together at the top, or glued together. I've never had that happen on an Omnibus. I've had that happen on like trades and stuff. As far as rituals, not really. I love reading them everywhere, man.
I like to read mine in the basement with music on, with no lyrics, like ambient music or soundtracks to movies.
Yeah, actually, Jess, I do the same thing, except without the music. No, I'm just kidding. I do it with the music.
Without the book and without the music.
Without the book, I just lay there. It's called sleeping. No, I'm a big fan of doing that too. And it's weird. Okay, this is going to make me sound so stupid, but growing up, I would listen to music while reading comic books. So anytime I hear Bon Jovi, Slippery When Wet, always reminds me of the Outback X-Men days, because that was the album that was coming out at the time that the X-Men were hanging out in the Outback.
That is a damn good album.
Hell yeah, it was. Is. No, that's a great ritual. I like that. Yeah, in my basement or in bed. Some of these Omnis get heavy after a while, like, holding them for so long, like up like that. I've seen people buy little things that they put the omnibuses on, like cooking book holders.
Yeah.
But, it's a book.
I couldn't read an Omni in bed. I have specifically like the basement because I've got Art Deco chairs that have big wide arms, and I just set them right there, and as the music's playing in the background. But I can only read like trades in bed. I couldn't hump an omnibus into the sack with me.
Jesus, what are you doing in your books? Hump an omnibus into the sack.
Yeah, I guess I could have phrased that a little better.
Never buy used books from Jess ever again.
Oh, that's horrible.
Yeah, I need to watch my phraseology there.
I've talked about how I've taken them on trips before, like on planes before I had a tablet. So I've read them on airplanes and trains and things like that. The only place I won't ever read them is probably a boat, like, just in case.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want that shit like water damaging my book.
Yeah, no.
Had a bad experience with my Berserk #2 that I took out to sea one day.
To sea.
Started raining, and I'm like, oh shit, I don't have anything to cover my beautiful Berserk Volume 2. Yeah. So is it back to me, or did Jess go? What did Jess do?
I haven't gone yet, but I'll go again.
Go for it, brother.
I reread this book. It's probably due this year. It's one of my top 10 books because of its rereadability. That's absolute justice. I've always and constantly picking up new things in this book. First of all, this book deserves the absolute treatment because of Alex Ross's artwork, which is crazy good.
Mm-hmm.
And as Omar has mentioned, I have a historically bad memory. So even though I read this once a year, I always forget what the big twist is and what the big plot points are. So it's like a fresh book for me every year that I reread it. And I just love the writing, the art, the twist in it, where it goes. And I just love this whole book. It's so well written and so well illustrated, and it's got it goes in such a great direction that I never expected. I wondered what was going on, and then it drops the unexpected thing on me, and I'm like, oh man, I forgot about that again. So that's where having a bad memory can help. It serves me well in rereading this book. And I also will take this time to mention to Luis that I finished Star Trek Discovery, and it is my favorite Star Trek show of all time.
Wow. Okay, I'm jumping onto this.
Which is a pretty big statement from me. I'm a huge Star Trek guy, as you know, and now I'm going to start Legion because I don't think have you started it?
Oh no, I've been too busy.
Yeah. So I'm going to start Legion now that I finally caught up on Star Trek Discovery. But man, did I love that show. Holy guacamole.
They just cast Spock for next
I saw
season.
that.
Yeah, so they're bringing in Spock. So they are... What timeline is this? What timeline does this fit in?
When does this thing take place?
It takes place 100 years after the...
Enterprise,
the Quantum Leap Enterprise guy. What's his name?
Scott Bakula.
Yeah, it takes place 100 years after that, and I would say episode. No, I don't even want to say, but there's a super huge payoff that happens towards the latter part of the series that I never even. The writing is just amazing that it happened.
So is this the series that Jean-Luc Picard's going to come into, or is he in another series?
He's going to be they're rebooting Next Generation, and he's going to be in it.
Rebooting or continuation?
Continuation, I think. Yeah.
Wow, dude! I bet it's a good time to be a Trekkie then, Jess.
It is good. It is good.
Yeah. Picard was your favorite captain, right?
Yeah.
Oh man, how excited were you that he's putting on the red shirt again?
Pretty damn excited. Yeah, as excited as I can get. As excited as I can get.
I'm really curious. Like, where did they leave off? Where did that series leave off on? Did they make it home? I don't even know. I really don't know.
It was the movies, right? The movies are canon, aren't they?
Yeah, he became a Borg at one point.
Yeah, he did. That was really cool. Locutus.
Okay, nerd. Let's talk about comic books again.
Oh, God.
You're calling me a nerd.
But my next pick, Cable and Deadpool. By God, Marvel, you should totally reprint that omnibus because it's wonderful. It is the perfect buddy cop comedy style bosom buddies, Cable and Deadpool. You have the straight man, Cable, and then you have this bumbling idiot, the merc with the mouth, Deadpool. And I think Fabian Nicieza was able to capture both of those just amazing chemistry and made it work. And I think I've mentioned this probably 85 times that I've been on the show. It made it work so much that Cable was dead for like the last 10 issues of that series, and it still was amazing. I love that series, and I reread it every once in a while because it's so good. And it might be coming up to reread again because it's that good.
How close is it to the tone of the movie?
There are certain elements like it's that kind of relationship that they have.
Oh, okay.
Like Cable's always like, why is this idiot like alive? So not quite as sophomoric as the movie per se, but it's good.
Okay, cool.
All right, Luis, what's up, man? What's good?
For me, I am going to go with 20th Century Boys. I fucking love 20th Century Boys. It's probably my favorite manga of all time. I'm actually going through and rereading this now for the third time, and I pick up new stuff along the way. For those of you that haven't read it, 20th Century Boys, it uses one of my favorite writing tropes where it flashes between different periods of life between this group of people. And you see that the actions, think like the actions that the kids do when they're children, you flash forward 30, 20 years from that point, and they have real lasting consequences. I think the friend is one of those villains that I absolutely love to hate, and he's really well written. Overall, it's just a brilliant series, and you can see where the mangaka at the very start of the series, he's already laying down, this is where I'm going to take this series. This is going to be the beats. These are going to be the characters. These are going to be the twists that we're going to go on. And basically the whole story centers around this cult leader called the Friend. And the Friend has risen into power, and he's risen into power because a virus has broken out into the world, and he somehow miraculously has this cure. It's brilliant in the sense that it's so grand in scale and so well thought out and well paced. It's just a page turner. Every single page, every single chapter wants you to keep going, wants you to read more, and I could come back to it and I get more and more out of it every single time. I love 20th Century Boys. It's fantastic. Like I've already mentioned, it centers around the character called the Friend. Basically, these kids at the start of the story, they were basically doing a childhood game. They said, okay, how the world would end? Oh, it would be a giant robot that would unleash a virus in the world and it would kill a huge swath of the population. And they put it like in this, they hide it away in this like sandbox or something like that. And 30 years from now, all this stuff that the kids predicted, like the ray guns, the robots, all this stuff starts happening and starting to come to fruition. And it's a mystery, and they're trying to figure out who the hell is the Friend? Why is he rising up into power? Why is he becoming this figurehead for the government? Gets into conspiracy theories involving the Pope. It's just, I love it. I can't say enough of it. I absolutely love 20th Century Boys.
I absolutely agree. Even though I think I enjoyed Pluto a little more than that, but that's because I'm a huge fan of Astro Boy.
Mm-hmm.
But I talked about this on Tuesday on my show, how I think he is literally the new god of manga. Yeah. He is the new Osamu Tezuka. His way of storytelling, and it is different than most of the stuff. I mean, I want to say it's almost more Western than a lot of his you know, his other mangakas out there.
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoy his stuff, and I think we've tried to get Jess to read some of this stuff, but
He tried Monster. He couldn't get into it.
yeah, or giant robots. I get it.
I think you would actually like 20th Century Boys more than Monster, because I'm reading Monster right now, and I kind of stopped, I think, somewhere around volume 8, and it's not that it's bad, it's just I had heard so much hype about it that I paused on it because it slowed down a lot for me.
I like the mystery and the twist in Monster and how. I mean, yeah, even the name itself has a good twist. I love it. Okay, to hijack this episode and make it into a manga episode.
Let me just answer a couple questions real quick.
Sure, man.
I checked on American Vampire, and it's issues 1 through 27, plus a couple of miniseries. So that's like the first 4 or 5 volumes.
Cool.
It's going to be a big book.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not only 1 through 27, but it's going to be a couple of miniseries too.
Man,
so
but
that's
the thing
going to
is, like Luis said, though, if it's not finished, I don't know if I'll pick that up. I may wait if it goes on clearance.
I don't see the point of putting it out yet. I mean, Snyder, it stopped. What did it stop? That second cycle, like issue 9.
That's the point. Catching in on that name.
Yeah.
Seriously.
And then Wilfredo asked about Uncanny X-Men Volume 3.
Yeah, I didn't know it was out of print.
I didn't really either. I checked eBay, and the sold prices are reasonable. It's like $130 to $135, which is not that bad. I would get an eBay alert as to any time it sells.
Or may I make a small suggestion here?
Yes, you may.
We can plug the Facebook group, because I've seen that book sell a lot for like $50, $50 or $60 in the Facebook group used.
Woohoo!
But you know,
that's true.
Seriously, I mean, if you're looking for it, what Jess? What is the name of it again?
The Omnibus Collectors Comic Swap and Community.
Yeah, check it out. Join. Jess has to approve it. Like, you have to go through like 3 different trials of approval, apparently.
They don't let me. I have nothing to do with it because I let in too many trolls.
Too many bots. Too many bots.
So they took my privileges away. I have nothing to do with accepting member requests.
Jess let in all the Russian women.
Right.
Sex bots. Oh yeah, she looks like a comic book collector. Come on in.
Here's a hint. If you slip Jess 20, he'll get you into the group real quick.
Got 15 pictures and half of them are half naked. Oh, and she's only got 2 friends. This is totally a comic book collector.
Yeah, that's how it got taken away from me.
All right, my friend. What's on your list? What's next on your list?
Me?
Yeah.
I would say Uncanny X-Force, because this was one of the first X-Men books that I read, and so the more and more Marvel I read, the more I pick up in this book. I reread this a lot because the more I understand the Marvel Universe, the more and more this book makes sense, and it's got a Deadpool in it that is fantastic. It's got great art, great writing, and I pick up new things all the time in this book. So I highly recommend rereading this book because the more I get to know the characters and the situations and the storylines of the past, the more this makes sense. And I dug it the very first time I read it, and I really didn't even know many of the characters. But now that I know, you know, Apocalypse and Archangel and Deadpool and Phantom X and everybody, it makes a lot more sense and it's a lot more enjoyable. So that's why I chose that book, because it's every time I read it, I get a lot more out of it and get a big kick out of it.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to see the pie chart schematics and analytics that the Marvel Collected Edition department has up on the walls as to what omnibus they will reprint next, because I'm sure somewhere on the whiteboards are written the words Annihilation and Uncanny X-Force and Bendis Daredevil. Seriously, like, They were. I mean, surely they're gonna be like, "Oh my god, that fucking word Bendis Daredevil has been up on the damn whiteboard for like 10 years. Maybe we should reprint those books."
Who the hell is this Just Blog, and why does he keep begging us to reprint it? Because people can download it.
That's a good choice, man. I love Uncanny X-Force. Unfortunately, that's one of those books that is completely out of print and now. That omnibus, I think the complete collections are still in print, though, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe they are.
Yeah, I think they are. So for my next choice, I'm going to go with Usagi Yojimbo. Not quite manga, but it's just a fun book, and it never gets old. And you know, it's probably not my favorite comic, but it's just a solid read. And it's I know that it's ongoing, but a couple of years ago I reread all the saga in the hardcover by Fantagraphics. Oh, I love that stuff, man. It's got a good mix of comedy and action and a lot of heart into it too, which is what I enjoy, and I enjoy the characters in it. So Usagi Yojimbo for me.
Usagi.
Great reread. Means a lot more now too after watching a lot of samurai movies in my older years.
Favorite samurai movie?
Favorite samurai movie? 47 Ronin with Keanu Reeves. No, Jess! No one says that.
That was horrible.
I don't even know that movie, so I don't know.
I'm going to go with the stereotypical Seven Samurai.
Of course. Yeah, that's mine too.
Satochi's good too, but Seven Samurai, man. Lone Wolf and Cubs are awesome too. All 6 of those are classics. But Seven Samurai, it's so long, it's so epic. The stunts were amazing. I can go on. It's great. It's great.
The Criterion edition actually has the intermission in it. It's like 5 hours long.
That's awesome. I'm so glad they did that.
Yeah,
I missed that.
Yeah. It's the movie pauses and takes a break. The Criterion edition, so you can. It literally has an intermission. Like it's the most original cut of the film. So for those that don't know, Seven Samurai is like
that's cool.
4.5 hours long, 5 hours long. It's an afternoon.
It's long,
but it flies by, and it's so good. It's so fucking good. And in the middle of it, the Criterion edition actually has the original intermission where
that's
you can where you can get up for 20 minutes. You go to the bathroom, you can go get something to drink or something to eat, and you can come and sit back down.
Shit, dude! Until you said that, I had forgotten those things existed. Not Criterion editions, but the intermissions. I forgot. Like Godfather was like that. All those movies that went on forever.
Love.
All right, Luis, what's up, man? What's your next one?
My next pick is. Let me jog through the memory real quick. Damn it, Jess, you took my next pick.
Which was what?
Uncanny.
Oh.
I'm gonna go Full Metal Alchemist. More manga.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah. Did you take Jess's? Was that yours, Jess?
Yeah.
That was yours. Liar.
No, Full Metal Alchemist, the story of 2 brothers who, after trying to bring back their mother from the dead, end up losing their arm. One of them ends up losing their arm and a leg, and the other one ends up losing their entire body. And his soul gets eventually placed into this metal suit of armor, and they go on this quest to basically restore their bodies. Along the way, it deals with politics, it deals with government, it deals with a lot of alchemy, it deals with like homunculus. I love Full Metal Alchemist. I just finished reading it for the 2nd time this past summer, and it's brilliant. Absolutely love it. If you have not read Full Metal Alchemist, and if you're not a fan of manga, this is one of those that you should consider reading, regardless.
Ryan Burnett wants to ask if there's any superheroes on this list. Yes, my next pick is going to be a superhero. His name is Keanu Reeves, 47 Samurai. All right, Jess, what's next, buddy?
I would say Global Frequency.
Hey, we did a review. Really? You like that book that much, huh?
Yeah, and I pick up new things in it every time I reread it. This is I think my favorite Warren Ellis book. It's got different artists for each arc. Each story is self-contained, but kind of flows through the whole book. It's a Global Frequency is a kind of a troubleshooting organization that solves problems by having 1,000 members throughout the world that have various expertise and disciplines that they are experts in. And Miranda Zero is the one that calls them all together whenever there's a global crisis. They're on the Global Frequency. And I pick up new stuff in this book every time I read it. And I've read it quite a few times now. And I just, I really enjoy this book, mostly because it's one of the more accessible Warren Ellis ones. I would say it's a little bit more accessible than Planetary. I could put Planetary on this list because I love that book, and that is a great reread. So now that I think about it, Planetary and Global Frequency would be great rereads, because especially Planetary, because I get something out of that every time I reread it, because it's so out there with its science and its physics, and the way it pushes the envelope in almost a Hickman type of fashion. And I think Planetary and Global Frequency, I get a lot out of rereading it, because
best Warren Ellis books, right? That's what you're saying?
I think so. They're my favorites. That's
because you haven't read Next Wave yet, my friend.
That is true. That was supposed to be a book that we had on the list to read.
We'll get that back on the list. Next Wave is awesome required reading. I'm really enjoying this episode because one of my segments is old reader, new readers, and I'm always looking for things to read like that can go back and reread. You guys have brought up some really good books. So for my next pick, God bless, man, this is gonna be tough. But if I had to choose one Jeff Johns DC work, I have to be true to my heart and go with JSA. JSA,
good choice.
Is phenomenal. I love JSA. All three of those omnibuses, Jeff Johns. Oh my God, that
was John's
that series made me care about these golden age characters that I did not give a shit about before. It was just like, I'd seen them in little crossovers before. I was like, oh, these old guys got older at the end of like 0 Hour and things like that. And he was even able to retcon a little bit of 0 Hour within JSA, but it is amazing. And I know one of you guys are going to talk about it, but it's got a great follow-up to Kingdom Come. A great follow-up to Kingdom Come. And a great follow-up to Starman. Like, oh, yeah, JSA, absolutely. Reread all the time. Great book. And Philip Evans is reading it right now. I'm jealous. I'm jealous. I'm jealous. And I would say probably, JSA, then Green Lantern, then Flash, then Teen Titans, then Infinite Crisis, and then Hawkman. Brightest Day is probably my least favorite thing that he wrote at DC, but it was still pretty solid. Before New 50.
No disagreement here.
All right, man. What about you? What do you got?
For me, let me think real quick. I'm running out of list.
It's okay. I only got like one or two more. I know Jess has like 10 of them.
Yeah, I'm running out of things in my internal hard drive. Alan Moore Swamp Thing.
Well, good choice.
Alan Moore Swamp Thing. The very reason why Vertigo Comics existed. Alan Moore Swamp Thing is brilliant. The art is fantastic. I mean, I've praised Alan Moore Swamp Thing on so many different levels. What he does with the Frankenstein story and how he twists the Swamp Thing character that was originally created by Bernie Wrightson and Len Wein, and what he adds to that mythos by introducing the green and the Parliament of Trees, where he takes that book in so many psychedelic places, and the writing on it. It's if you've never read Alan Moore Swamp Thing, I know a lot of that stuff is out of print. But did they release that Absolute, right? Or they announced it?
It's still coming, I think, right, Jess?
Yeah, I think it's scheduled for April of next year now.
Yeah, I got canceled and then I got resolicited, so I think we're in good hands. They know that they will sell. That's a good choice, dude. I love that book. That was one of mine too, but I figured you or Jess would add it to the list. And
Yeah, I
if it
love that
wasn't for
book.
Swamp Thing, we would not have Hellblazer. So
It's true. John
That is
Constantine
true.
makes his first appearance.
Issue
All right.
37.
Wow, Jess, you said you don't remember squat.
I do know a little
I don't
DC
remember that.
stuff. I do
didn't
know a
remember
little
that.
DC stuff.
What do you got, brother? What's on your list next? I got one or two more, and that's it for me.
Yeah, I just have this, and that's it for me.
Okay. That
It
better
is
be Kingdom Come.
It is.
Yeah,
Kingdom Come.
good choice.
Fabulous Mark Waid, the fabulous Alex Ross, the fabulous story that I love, and I'm going to keep this out so I can reread it again. I have my Kingdom Come Superman action figure that's right in front of the book, so I love his big barrel-chested S right there. It looks like the Alex Ross figure right there too. That's a pretty good sculpt. And I just I don't know. It's a famous book that's famously well received. Everybody loves it. I can't imagine that anybody doesn't love this book. It's one of Mark Waid's best, and of course, early-ish Alex Ross. I guess he did this after he did Marvels, which is another book that I love and reread a lot and get a lot out of, is Marvels. But I have that in the giant laptop killing edition, and I'm not going to pull it down off the shelf because I'm sure it'll knock my laptop right off.
Not gonna risk it, huh?
No, Marvel's is staying up there next to fucking Nemo. I'm just not risking it, man.
Wow.
But yeah, Kingdom Come, highly rereadable. I get something out of it. I think Mark Waid just totally knocks it out of the park with this. This is probably the book that made me love Mark Waid, since I read it before I read Irredeemable, and it just made me want to read everything that he's ever written, which means I need to read Empire, because that is apparently a great Mark Waid book.
That is a great Mark Waid book.
Did
you ever read his follow-up to this, to Kingdom Come? It's just called The Kingdom.
Oh no.
Or Thy Kingdom. What is it called? It only came out. It only came out. Thy Kingdom Come.
Kingdom Come. Okay.
That's the follow-up on JSA, but that's Jeff Johns and Alex Ross.
Right.
He actually had a follow-up. It was just a mini series, and they only put it in trade paperback, and it never. I don't think it got a lot of love. But you should check it out. There were some things in there that I thought were pretty cool. It's not painted or anything. It's not beautiful art. I can't even remember who did the art. But DC only put it out in trade paperback.
It was that bad.
It had its moments. All right, so for my last pick, I could have gone the Annihilation route, because that is true. That is the Cosmic Marvel Odyssey is amazing and well worth a reread. But I'm going to go with Starman. Starman is probably one of my top 5 favorite comic books of all time. It's one that the older I get, the more I enjoy.
Also known as Benadryl for Lewis.
What? That book is amazing.
Don't know? You don't know, dude? I hate Starman.
How could you? Anybody hate Star? I know Fariha hates Starman, or did not like it.
Boring, dude. I'm sorry, it's just me.
No, it's okay. It's not for everybody. It
should be for everybody.
I've told you guys the story about my wife not liking it, right? And me, like, I can't be with somebody that does not like Starman. This is almost grounds for divorce if we weren't already married and, weren't committed to a child. That's when we had our first kid. Like, damn, I wish I had known this before. Would not have put the ring on that. But no, it's just a wonderful story about a guy that does not want to be a hero, but he has to be because he's kind of forced into it. And it's got a lot of elements of the golden age storytelling. And I don't know. I just think James Robinson put a lot of himself into the story. And I can kind of see a lot of myself in there. He went through a lot of shit in his personal life. So I have to go with Starman. That's a great reread for me. If you've never read it, DC is really doing people a disservice by not putting like a proper omnibus into print. Like, they could just collect those 6 omnibuses in 2 big omnis and call it a day. But Starman. Hitman almost up there too, but Hitman doesn't even have a damn collected edition, like a proper collected editions.
1 and 2 got announced as a collected edition that's coming out in the spring for Hitman. They're putting books 1 and 2 together. I hope they finish it all out, but it's going to be a big, thick trade.
Good. That's one of my favorite NS books. That up there with the Punisher Max and Punisher. Welcome Home, Frank, and Hitman. That stuff was great. Hitman 1 through 60. They need to collect all that stuff properly. All right, you guys want to take it to the chat for a couple minutes and call it a night?
Yeah.
Unless you all have any more. Jess, did you say that was it for you, Kingdom Come?
I do. I pulled out, and I won't.
Yeah. Oh, what'd you break?
I didn't break anything.
I heard something.
No, I think the little slip thing hit the box. Absolute New Frontier.
Wonderful.
Fabulous story. Great movie, which I love the movie. Love the art. This is one of my go-tos. Darwin Cooke's finest book ever, I think, in my opinion, my humble opinion. This is his magnum opus.
I agree with you.
It is just a brilliant retelling of the Justice League and their origins and things, and I just can't get enough of this book. Everything about this book makes me happy. Just looking at these characters happy makes me happy right there. I don't know. I always got this feeling that Darwin Cooke was a joyful guy. I don't know anything about him. I never got a chance to meet him, but reading his books just puts me in such a joyous mood that I get the feeling that he was just a happy guy that loved comics and loved being able to write them. And I love this book, and of course I love the Parker Martini edition. I love that Darwin Cooke book too, but I love it when Batman threatens Martian Manhunter, telling him he could take him out with just a flick of a match. It's just a great book.
Yeah, I agree. That's my favorite Darwin Cooke book. I was gonna say Parker's up there too, but that one speaks to me too because of all the heroes. You know, the beginning of the Justice League, like you said. So let's see. We got any questions in the chat? Omar, better rivalry: Scorpion versus Sub-Zero or Ryu versus Sagat? That came from Lionheart. Well, being S2, it's like I have a rule. It's not a fighting game unless some motherfucker's throwing a fireball screaming Hadouken. So I'm going to go with Ryu and Sagat. Although, get over here is a lot of fun to say. Remember when that movie came out and they would play that damn soundtrack at every fucking dance club?
Oh.
I can imagine me in my early 20s, drunk as hell, talking to chicks. Get over here. No, okay. Sorry. My bad.
You try to launch the Scorpion thing out of your hand to pick her up.
Oh, I'm sure the more I drink, there's no telling.
I have absolutely no idea what you're talking about.
Come on, dude. Scorpion versus Sub-Zero? Mortal Kombat?
No, I never played it.
There was a movie.
What
about
47 Ronin is what I saw instead.
We're going to go back to Keanu Reeves' classic samurai tale. What about Street Fighter? Do you know anything about that?
I do not.
Nothing. Can you name me 3 characters from Street Fighter? While we wait for questions. 3. I just said 2 earlier.
Oh, did you say Sub-Zero?
No.
What about Pong, Jess? Have you ever played Pong?
That's where I started playing, was Pong. But I never got into fighting games.
I'm sure Jess was a pinball wizard back in the day.
Absolutely.
Actually, Jess, you do strike me as the type of person that would own a pinball machine in your house.
I do have one in my house.
Do you really?
It's a Star Trek one.
Of
Star
course.
Trek.
Dude, my wife loves that machine. The Star Trek one?
Yeah, you hit the if you hit it in a certain way, the transporter goes off and the in the lit up backboard. Yeah.
We have a bar here. It's about 30 minutes away from the house. It's got all the pinball machines and like 40 arcade cabinets. But
That
she's
sounds
never
cool.
she's never seen the Star Trek one, so she was like, "Oh, this is really cool." Yeah.
Is she a Star Trek fan? Or just a
Um,
pinball fan?
maybe a little of both, honestly.
Mhm.
Her mom's a big Trekkie.
Oh, is she?
Yeah, her mom and her sister are both big Trekkies. Streets of Rage is the best game with the best. I will say Streets of Rage 2 has one of the best soundtracks, Tyler Trent.
There's a
And
huge... Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
no. Go ahead. What were you gonna say? There's a huge.
I was gonna say there's a huge pinball community. Like people love to play pinball machines.
Yeah, they're great. I'm trying to go down the list here.
I used to like the Terminator one.
Apparently, Van Damme was coked up during the Street Fighter movie. Maybe that's why Jess can't remember.
Yep.
Dude, Lionheart, that's awesome. He's training for 2 Street Fighter tournaments. I've entered a Fatal Fury, King of Fighters tournament, and a Guilty Gear tournament, and I got my ass whooped at both of them. I don't even want to talk about what place I came in, but I kicked ass at a Bomberman tournament, Super Bomberman 2. Let's see.
I'm excited for Red Dead Redemption. My daughter and I are really excited to play that game.
I love the first one.
You know, I've never played the first one. That's the same guys that did GTA, right?
Yeah, it's a classic, man. You should definitely.
Yeah, I know. It's weird. I was talking about with some friends about my backlog of video games. It's kind of a shame. Let's see. This is from Drew GB. Hey, OmniBros, excited for Venom or cautiously optimistic? Yeah, let me hear what you guys think. The movie, Venom.
Based on the last trailer, I'm hopeful. I'd say I'm hopeful.
Okay.
I'm hopeful that it'll be decent. I have very low expectations, so I could be very surprised.
I echo those same thoughts from Jess. I have very, very bottom of the barrel expectations for this movie.
I think it's gonna suck.
Hey, okay.
But I'm gonna be there opening night.
With a Venom t-shirt on.
With my Venom glow-in-the-dark t-shirt just to make Gabe proud. No, I don't know if it will suck. I just wish they would quit with so many trailers. Like, just give me one good trailer. I don't need teaser trailers. They've shown us 3 trailers, and I guess that's good enough. Please stop. I don't need to see the whole damn movie. I get it. But on the 3rd trailer, did they go back and like repronounce symbiote? Did they call it symbiote or symbiote again? So I remember in the 1st trailer they called it a symbiote.
I think they corrected it.
Yes, awesome. They did. They spent $3 million on reshoots because people were pissed about the pronunciation. So yeah, I'm like these guys. I'm cautiously optimistic. I'm hoping it's good, and I'm hoping that we see Tom Holland in some kind of spider outfit in there, because the idea that these 2 universes don't exist, or these characters don't exist in the same universe because of copyright things, that's just stupid. But here's hoping.
I would love to see Tom Holland in that movie. And Carnage.
Thoughts on Flash currently? That's from Ryan Burnett. I'm not sure if he's talking about the comic book or the TV series. I stopped watching the TV series after season 1, and I'm enjoying the comic book so far. It's solid. I think I just finished reading issue 50. I'm, I guess, a couple months behind.
I've read the deluxe edition 2, and I enjoyed 1 and 2. I've read, and I've enjoyed Flash. And the TV show, I haven't caught up after season 2. I really need to. I think they're on season 4 or something now. That's ridiculous. I have 50 episodes on my TV.
Damn. Well, you have a lot more comics to read too.
I know.
Let's see.
Problem.
Are you guys excited about the new Spider-Man PS4 game? That looks pretty cool.
It does look cool. All the costumes and stuff.
Yeah, that's part of the reason.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm gonna play with all the costumes. It's great.
Spider-Punk.
Blast Blue Cross. Oh, I love those games too, Kal-El.
I'm just happy they're putting the $20.99 suit in there.
Is that going to be something you pick up right away, Luis?
Spider-Man?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I can't wait. I'm so excited for Spider-Man.
All right, well, good luck, Lionheart. The second Street Fighter tournament is sponsored by Red Bull, and if I win, I would then go to Washington, D.C. this coming November for another tournament. That's badass, dude. People make a living like that.
Yep.
We need to get some OmniBros shirts so Lionheart could wear it while he's kicking ass at Street Fighter.
That'd be awesome.
Represent, man.
What is the most ridiculous food you see people sneak inside a movie theater? I once saw somebody bring in a whole 12-piece of Popeyes.
12 feet! Oh!
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
12 pieces.
They sat down next, dude, this was the family meal. They sat down next to me. They had a backpack. They put the backpack down, and they start pulling out fucking chicken. They had drumsticks. Yes. They had the biscuits. They had the gravy. The mashed potato, and the mac and cheese. And I'm dying there, sitting there, because this was right after work. And we went to see Ghost Rider, that shitty Nicolas Cage Ghost Rider movie. So I suffered twice that night. And they're just munching on it, and I'm dying next to them, and they finished the entire thing. I was like, I fucking hate you guys.
I've never seen anything that crazy. I think the most I've ever seen was I took a girl on a date one time, and she took out a cheeseburger, and I'm like, oh my God, you're amazing. That's amazing. It's a woman after my own heart right there. Sneaking food into the theater.
Wow.
Yes. It's like she came prepared. Like, we hadn't even eaten dinner. We were going to go to dinner afterwards.
Yeah.
And of course, I'm wondering like how long she had it in there, but yeah. That was awesome.
Speaking of dates.
12 pieces of chicken. That's awesome.
Speaking of dates, real quick. Funny story with my brother. So my brother, he dated with Tinder for a bit, right? I know we're kind of going off track a bit. One, I don't advise it. So he started dating this chick. Things were going really well on the first date that they went to. And all of a sudden at a red light, she just starts crying. And she lets out that she has herpes.
Oh, my God.
And she just starts...
That part's not funny, but the idea of your brother being put in this situation.
She just starts bawling. He's just cuts the date short. They go to Starbucks. And he paid for a drink in her Uber, and then like she contacted him like a few days ago saying, "You're just like all the other men out there. You don't give me a chance." And it's that's my brother's love life.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, at least she gave him the heads up, though. It could have been worse.
Yeah.
Could have been worse. Could have been very worse.
Yeah.
I bought a 2-liter and a tub of Ben and Jerry's here in Ireland in my cinema. They just
Who was that?
Joseph Kelly.
That's awesome. I'm surprised more families don't do the 12-piece of chicken, man. Now you gave me some ideas. See, my wife likes these little bitty-ass purses, though. I'm going to try to get her a big-ass bag, one of those old-ass Veer Bradley purses, thinking of chicken.
Oh, man, dude, I was dying that night. I had just gotten out of work. I haven't had dinner, and my friends hit me up. They're like, yo, let's go see Ghost Rider. I'm like, it's probably going to be terrible, but fuck it. All right, whatever. So I sat through about an hour and a half of Nicolas Cage yelling at the screen, trying to turn on fire.
I laughed. I fell asleep through that movie, but I remember laughing so hard at Nicolas Cage trying to act young. Like what his definition of young is. I'm like, what?
And that
like,
hair.
It sounded so horrible. Oh, man, that movie.
The wig he had on.
Nicolas. I thought, the worst thing he ever did was probably still Sue's, Peggy Sue's getting married.
Never seen
it. Just his weird accent he had in that movie. I'm sure, Burning Man's up there too, but man, he was so horrible in that movie.
You mean Wicker Man? Wicker
Man, thank you. Yes. Yes, the bees.
Not the bees.
Oh, that guy.
Smuggled absolute vodka.
I'm loving all these smuggling stories. Of course, Gabe was like, I smuggled some Jack to put in my Coke and a Subway. Was it a Subway sandwich that he snuck in there? Sub sandwich, yep. That's awesome. Joseph Kelly said, my friend says if they say something, just tell them you have diabetes. That's a good idea.
That is a good idea.
Gabe, I would have been one of those guys you caught.
Guilty.
No, never mind. I'll ask you later about these things. Never mind.
Yeah.
Jess is like, no, don't. Don't.
This would be a good time for me to talk about InStockTrades.com, where you can get up to 50% off your collected editions. Loyalty discounts add 2%. They sometimes have sales that add 3%. Every quarter, there's an OmniBros discount. Over $50 in orders gets you free shipping in the United States. Fabulous customer service, fabulous packaging. That's InStockTrades.com, our sponsor.
Love them.
We sure do. So, is that about it, guys?
Yeah, but I'm loving some of these stories I'm
Yeah,
reading.
these stories are great.
Also, J-Rocks and Forkon. I need to go to Malaysia, apparently. Oh, yeah. Gabe totally means sitting next to me. Lunchables and Capri Sun. Man, see, like, kids love Lunchables.
Yeah.
I could totally sneak that stuff in and save, like, $80.
Wait. You mean you don't sneak food into the theater?
My wife is we're very different. Like we're really opposite, right? I'm what you called a liar and a thief, and she is sweet. She's sweet and honest. So we kind of balance each other out, especially around the children, because I'm not supposed to teach the kids bad habits, right? Like, but there are a few things they need to learn, like how to sneak food into a movie theater.
Oh, for some reason, I just picture you being that guy at the self-checkout line at Walmart where you swipe the ribs across and go beep, and your bag into the cart.
I have probably been that guy. Ribs. Damn, times are hard if you're trying to get some ribs out.
Dude, we do it all the time. We stop at I don't know if you guys have it. It's called Five Below.
Yeah, I've never been to it.
Yeah.
I just went to one like just the other day. Yeah.
We stop because the Five Below is in the same shopping plaza as the movie theater we go to. So we stop there, we load up on snacks there, and she brings a purse, and we just go into the theater real quick. And we have.
I think that's smart.
Yeah, you don't pay the ticket. You don't pay the price in the concession.
We used to do that with the dollars, like the Dollar General store, like grab a bunch of candy and sneak it in. Because, most of the time these guys that work in the movie theater, like, they were young and they didn't care about their jobs or take their jobs seriously. Except for that one guy you'd always find. I'm going to have to check. I'm going to have to check everything out. Yeah.
Oh, dude. I miss the good old days. When I was a kid, we lived in, like, a shady area. And, like, we had a movie theater, like, run-down, old-ass movie theater. That was right across the street from where we lived. And nobody gave a shit there. Like, nobody gave a damn. They closed the theater down, probably a few months after this. So we went to see Kill Bill 2. The guy that was charging people for the tickets was smoking pot. Didn't give a fuck. And we go, hey, can we just go see Kill Bill 2? He's like, yeah, just go right on in. Didn't charge us, didn't check IDs. We just walked right on in. They had the popcorn all lined up on the counters. We grabbed the popcorn and we sat down and we watched the whole movie.
How old would you?
Huh?
How old would you say you were when you watched Kill Bill 2?
Oh, when was Kill Bill 2? I was probably in 9th grade, so I was probably 13, 14.
Cool.
So this is a funny story, and we can cut it after this. The reason my wife wanted to have kids was because of Kill Bill 2. And we were watching it, and she said, I want to know what it's like to love something that much, to want to kill a bunch of people.
Oh my God.
Of course, I'm like, what about me? Like, and I swear that was the beginning of the we need to have a baby.
That's amazing.
And we did. And we did.
That is amazing.
So thank you everybody for joining us for our kind of weird stories here towards the end. That was a lot of fun.
I can't believe we still have 50 people watching right now.
It was a lot of fun to share some of those trying to sneak in food to the movie theater. Jess, what about you? You're doing okay. Last thing, did you ever sneak anything in the movie theater?
Oh yeah, I used to sneak in airline bottles of booze all the time for my soda.
Yes.
There was a liquor store right across the street. This is not that long ago. I remember I saw what was the first Daniel Craig 007 movie? Casino Royale. Yeah, I saw that by myself at a movie theater that was right across the street from a liquor store. I went in, I grabbed a bunch of airline bottles and got a couple of sodas and got lit up when I watched that.
Best Bond movie you ever saw.
Yeah, I think it was. I loved it. So yeah, I used to do that all the time.
Awesome. Good.
Before I got sober.
Well,
but I also used to I didn't take in a 12-piece of chicken, but I used to take in my own candy as a kid to save money. I remember doing that.
I think we've all done that. Man, Luis, I would have gotten up and be like, "Ma'am, I'd like to shake your hand." That's just walk away. That's awesome. All right. Well, that was fun, guys.
All right. Thank you. Luis, where can they find you on the internet?
You can find me at Comics Guide 101. Comics Guide 101, where I give you tips, advice on how to start reading comics and certain characters and all that good stuff.
And Omar, where can they find you?
You can find me on my channel called Near Mid Condition. And it's me and another group of friends where we discuss silly, stupid shit, too. Much like this.
And you can find me on Omnidog's Vault on YouTube and on Instagram, Omnidogs_Vault. So thank you to the chat. Thank you to IST. Thank you to my fabulous co-hosts. And we will see you Monday, where we have a special surprise episode that is going to be fun. We're looking forward to that one.
And don't forget, on Sunday, we literally have a sister show.
Oh, that's right. What's it called?
Fuck me. Fangirlz Assemble. Thank you, Jess. You forgot to.
No, I didn't. I thought you were going to give the plug.
No, I was waiting. That was your cue. Every time I do, hey, Jess, what's the Facebook group? It's because I can't remember.
Oh my God. Okay. I felt like a proud parent watching their kid at the school play. Come on, honey. Come on.
Fangirlz Assemble. Watch them 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time on Sunday.
Right on. Okay, everybody. Good night, and thank you for watching. Peace and love. Peace and love.